Hello and welcome to All About Billings. We are a show dedicated to discovering the people that make Billings a great place to work and live. We will interview business leaders, entrepreneurs, artists, entertainers, and in general cool people in Billings, and we will learn from their successes, their failures, and their connection to Billings. I'm your host, Nancy Brook, broker and owner at Billings Best Real Estate. And today it is my pleasure to welcome our guest, an artist and a sculptor, Tyrel Johnson. So let me tell you a little bit about Tyrel. Tyrel, as I mentioned, is an artist and he has a passion for sculpting. And you'll notice in front of me there is a sculpture right now that he's going to tell us a little bit about. He has united his passion for sculpting and woodworking to create very unique and beautiful pieces of art. His contemporary use of wood paired with a traditional approach to sculpture have limitless potential. It is this potential that excites him the most. Tyrel has also received lots of recognition for his art, and it's cool because here he is, a Montana guy, and he is really making his mark. He won Best of Show and People's Choice Awards at Sculpture in the Hills 2021, as well as Best of Show 3D Out West Art Show in 2022. He's been featured in a number of magazines and is really getting quite the name for himself. So let me welcome Tyrel. Welcome to All About Billings.
Hello, Nancy.
Well, I am really excited to have you here today. One of the things that I found so fascinating is, first of all, you came from a family who had a background. So tell us about your upbringing, and it sounds like you came from Big Timber.
Yeah, I grew up in Big Timber. I'm the youngest of 16. 4 of which were adopted brothers, 2 sisters, and 10 boys, counting me.
Wow, 16. That must be a story unto itself.
Oh, it was crazy. When I was 5, there were 26 people living in our house, I believe.
Wow.
And that was because we had an active foster home up until I was roughly 6 or 7.
Huh.
That's all blurry for me, but but it was, I guess, as unique an experience as you could imagine. And I knew how to, watch myself, keep from getting thumped on by my older brothers. But we all get along rather well, so it's...
Yeah. Well, I suppose the older ones had to help the younger ones, right?
Yeah, and I know my oldest sister, Julie, was very, very heavily involved in dealing with us younger kids, and I hear stories, from girlfriends, wives over the years that they remember holding me on their hip and carrying me around. I guess I was a sweet baby, calm and sweet or something like that.
Well, and so tell me about your family's business. So it was a foundry, right?
My dad was a sculptor. He had been selling art for a well-known artist in Utah, and then he decided he'd make his own art and show his love for Native American heritage and stories, and ultimately opened a foundry in Big Timber where all of us and a lot of our cousins ended up working there. I started working, probably freshman or sophomore year in the foundry, and we specialized in scaling up, sculpting, and casting bronze monuments. We were hired by a lot of artists, and my dad did quite a few monuments over the years. And
so the artists would do the work, and then you would create the actual sculpture.
The original, like this here.
Yeah.
So if you want this piece 30 feet tall, you bring it to us, we scale it up and sculpt it, and then take molds and then cast it. And so we were, with all of us growing up that way, I used to play in the foundry growing up all the time, and I was just enamored with it because I knew I wanted to be a sculptor no matter what. When I grew up, that was, you know, when teachers ask you what you want to be when you grow up, I'm going to be a successful sculptor.
Huh.
And I've never been concerned with how long it takes, as long as it looks like what I want to make, you know, me. I'm making art that is me. And so here we are.
So when your family's business, you were basically recreating other people's art, but you went from that to now having your own visions.
Yeah, and that helped a lot.
Right, because that's technical. I mean, that's really technical,
Yeah.
and of course you have to be a good craftsman and artistic in a way, doing that kind of
the foundry
work.
is very highly skilled. There's
Right.
several phases. Wax chasing is very delicate and detailed. Bronze chasing is also delicate and detailed, but more difficult, because they have their tricks and they're all difficult, but you just have to be skilled and adaptive. Just be able to adapt constantly. And you know, when you're building a 1.5 life-size horse and you're welding the panels together and you come around the stomach, usually the panels are like this, so you have to, you got this big hunk of bronze, you've got to shape it out, and so it's always kind of thinking on your toes, which is priceless. You can't get that kind of education anywhere else.
So all of the family worked there?
Pretty much everyone at some
Wow.
point or another worked there. A lot of my older siblings worked there for many, many years. I believe we closed my dad's foundry when I was like 21, and then I went into carpentry, which is how you can kind of see the influence of the trades that I've been in. And I was fortunate enough to be trained by two very, very high-end carpenters in 2 different occasions, and that has allowed me to do just about anything with anything physical. If it's 3-dimensional and you can cut it and shape it, I can make something out of it.
So when did you first start? It sounds like at a young age you wanted to be a sculptor. So, but when did you finally start making that happen? Because it's one thing to have an idea, right? And it's a different thing to actually, hey, I'm doing it.
Yeah, and then, you know, the dream gets interrupted by life. You have children.
Sure. Got to make money.
Got to make money, yeah. So that
pay for living
the solution
expenses.
to that, I started my construction company when I was 25, and that was 2008. And within a couple of years, I had a crew of 5, and we took down a lot of work. And during that period, after I get my kids to bed, I would start doing art. So around 9:30 at night, I would start making art, and I would go to about 2 a.m. most every night. I'd get up and be at the job at 7:30 just for years.
Wow.
It was a grind, and then I ended up having a stroke. I used to drink a lot. I don't drink anymore.
Wow.
But the beauty of all that is that angst, that the hunger that created is what led to the decisions I made to create what I'm now creating. And prior to that, in I'd say most of my 7 years in my 20s, I'll say. So by the time I was 30, I was done. I did anatomical studies where I'd sculpt a skeleton, a full skeleton, and then put one muscle on at a time until I put like 2 or 3 muscles on every night.
Huh.
Until I had a full human body, because I wanted to be capable of doing the Michelangelo Rodin quality because when you don't understand the basics that underlie your profession, you can't express your ideas properly. So you always hit those roadblocks and you have to make shortcuts. I didn't want to do that, so that's why I invested so much time into the study. And then in my early 30s, I studied design, and I spent quite a few years loosening up because that anatomical study was so meticulous that my work became too tight. And so I just do quick sketches. So throughout my 30s, I was doing a lot of that and giving them away to friends for wedding gifts. And then one day I combined wood and sculpture, and I haven't looked back since.
So when you're doing all that anatomical stuff, isn't that like tedious? And
Oh.
I mean, I just can't even imagine. How would you even, like, you're thinking about a little muscle and how it interacts here and the bone, and how did you even figure it out? Did you have like a live, I mean, not a actual skeleton, but like a model of a skeleton? Is that what you used?
I found, I looked really hard for good reference, and I found a book made for artists that was actually like medical grade, like nuts and bolts.
Right.
And so I used that, and what I would do is I'd go through and label each muscle in order in the torso, the head, and from lowest, closest to the bone, to outermost. And if I was working on like the thigh, that night I would put one of those muscles on, one of the lower ones, and build out until I had. So it wasn't just me replicating an anatomical drawing. I was actually building a human. And then I would put veins and glands and fat pads, and then cover it with skin, and then I usually destroy them, and afterwards, one of which the last one I did took 3 years.
And what were you making them out of?
It was a man about 3 feet tall, and I built a wire structure to sculpt the skeletal bone, the bones on, and then you just got rid of them? I tore them apart. And the neat
seems
part,
so crazy.
The neat part is when I cut it like through his legs. You know those diagrams you see of like the bisected muscles? It looked just like one of those. It was so neat.
Wow.
I still have one left, that life-size head that I did.
And you just had no desire to keep it. It was just the study of it that was important.
It was the principle, yeah. I'm going for skill. That's not my art. That's my skill. That's for me. The art's for the people.
Okay. I gotcha. Well, and animals are in some ways even harder to show their muscle structure because they're so defined, like horses.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never drawn a horse or anything, but if you look at a horse, you notice.
Yeah,
they're sinewy, and they just have such a form to them.
Yeah.
That's not easy to capture.
Yeah, well, so like once you authentically understand the human physiology, all you have to do is look at a femur bone on a horse, and you'll understand where the insertion points are for those muscles. It's the same anatomy, give or take a few things. But one of the greatest art teachers in history, Lanteri is his last name, he said, if you fully understand human physiology, there's no living creature you can't sculpt. So, and that's why I stopped with just human physiology.
So what drove you to, you had a construction business, you're making money, sounds like you were doing well, you had a crew.
Mm-hmm.
What drove you to start art at 9 at night and go till 2 in the morning and sleep a few hours and do it all again?
It's my dream. And I want to put up monuments like my dad, and I want to, why not? Like some of us spend 2 hours watching a football game every night, and if that's your thing, that's great. And my thing is creating, and even in my spare time, I make things out of leather, or like feather fans, I just like to create. It's personal expression. Art is kind of a way of putting little pieces of you out into the world, and my main goal is to enrich people's lives, to bring something positive into their home, and so that's why I have such a high standard for myself, my skills, because I want, I'd rather be the Fabergé egg than a Timex or something, or
yeah, like a mass-produced.
Yeah.
You can get it anywhere, sort of a thing. You want to be unique.
that's why I have that heavy hands-on with the woodworking. Each piece is basically one of a kind, even though they're edition numbers, because the wood itself is always beautiful and always different and unique.
Right, right. So when did you feel like you started to see some success as an artist? I mean, obviously you're getting acclaim at this point, but it must have been years of, well, you working on the forms, the human forms, for many years. I'm sure you weren't selling a lot of art at that
Oh yeah,
point.
there's a long period of like, oh man. But you know, when you're young, you know, in my 20s, even my late 20s, I didn't have a clue, you know. But then I get to those first shows, and that kind of guides you. And you know, like a good example, one of my first pieces that I showed at one of those shows was Gratitude. Is a bison and a Native American woman, and she's wrapped in a bison skin robe, and she's reaching out giving thanks to the bison for the sustenance and the warmth. And that piece was very well accepted. And you know, I could have kept doing different riffs on that same concept, but I'm going on a journey through me, and the people who like what I make are going to stay. I'll have an authentic group of collectors, as opposed to, oh, well, look, Tyrel's doing this again, you know.
Right.
So even at a young age in the foundry, I'd be working on a wax. Let's say it's a bugling elk, which was really common. And I've seen, like, Tim Schinnebarger's just a phenomenal wildlife sculptor. And I've seen a lot of those, and I always knew that wasn't my calling. But
Right.
Tim's a big hunter. He loves the animals. So his voice is in it, just like mine is in mine. But if I had copied Tim or all the various artists that we cast for, I'd just be a copycat, you know? And so
Right.
I'm just going to take that journey and be as bold as I can be, and hopefully entertain the buyers as I go.
So what do you like to create? What's your calling? Or where has your journey taken you? It doesn't sound like you're going to have one thing that you do, but...
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's the story, it's the challenge. I want to challenge myself every time if I can. Sometimes I do stay in my comfort zone. One of my favorite pieces that I've just recently created is Nature's Pendulum, an owl and a rabbit. And I think it's beautiful, personally. But it's still in my comfort zone. And then again, I have a piece I made a few years back, Old Man in the Sea. It's based on the Old Man in the Sea. It's called Santiago's Plight. And it's a book with a leather binding, and then you have the pages are glass waves that swoop up around a man in a boat, and then the marlin down here. And so that, I just want to do more of that, all of that. Just design, heavy story, and high-end mediums, glass, wood, stone, leather. I've been working with a lot of leather, and that's all I want, just expression.
So you like art that tells a story.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting. A big theme is, right? Something that means something to you.
To the client.
And to the client, okay.
Yeah, because I am me, and my art is a piece of me, so I can't separate me from the process. I'll shine through no matter what. But what I really almost always shoot for is like that little part of someone's in their heart or their memories, you know, a special moment or a realization. If I can give that to someone, like I have Undivided Love's another piece. It's pretty tall. It's a horse and a girl separated by a divide. It's called Undivided Love. I don't know if I just said that, but that one, a lot of people immediately just like, that's my granddaughter, or that was me. I love my horses, and that's what I'm shooting for. It's that moment that makes it theirs.
Right.
Because then when they walk by it every day, it never becomes a token or trivial or.
Oh yeah, oh that's pretty, but
Yeah.
it's more meaningful than that.
Yeah, and well, like, pretty is amazing too.
Yes.
Like, if you're an amazing landscape painter, you can be in a room with 15 other landscape painters, and you're not going to be the same. You're all going to be different.
Right.
You all bring yourself to the game.
Right.
And for me, I just love the challenge of conceiving something that has multiple parts that are totally different trades that all comes together cohesively in a pleasing way.
Well, and so you've been lifelong Montanan.
Mm-hmm.
Montana isn't necessarily the mecca of art. I mean, you think of real artistic places. You think of like New York City.
Yeah.
You think of, I don't know, Chicago, places where art is sold. How is it working here as an artist?
I think it's amazing because we have wide open spaces, lots of inspiration, beautiful places you can run off to.
Yeah.
And it generally a nice populace. People in Montana are more likely to talk to you in a grocery store, whereas you go out east, it's not so much the case. I moved to Virginia briefly, and I moved back because I felt alone in mass amounts of people just
Sure.
walking down a busy street. It's like, not a single person looked at me today. That's when you're as tall as me, that's not common. And also Montana has, as far as I know, the highest per capita quantity of working artists.
Huh.
Yeah, and
I didn't know that.
And we have some big shows. We have the Western Art Week up in Great Falls. I do the Out West show, and then the Russell, of course.
Sure.
That's what it's all based around. And so there's no shortage of people artists to make friends of.
And so people seem to find you, even though I think of Montana as being a little isolated from, the big population centers.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's great. I love that. But in terms of getting that following, I'm sure it's a little challenging.
Yeah, and the shows are really what do it. Like even Kevin Red Star, he's at the top of his game. He's doing great work, he's loving it, but he told me he went to every show he could possibly go to, even if he just had to look in the couch for gas money, back when he was young.
Sure.
And I've heard that same advice from many artists that have been around for a long time. It's just show up. And those art lovers, they flock to these different shows. Like Sculpture in the Park in Loveland is one I do once in a while, and Out West show up in Great Falls.
Right.
And so they'll come to those shows, and then they start following you, and pretty soon you have someone, you send a picture of your new piece and they want it. And the magazine features, I've been in quite a few magazines, which it's all been surreal, to say the least, to actually go from dreaming and scheming and working hard to actually living the dream, in the dream.
Right.
So it's almost like it's still a dream.
So when did you start feeling successful as an artist?
I mean,
I don't mean, obviously you're creating things and there's success in that, but when you got recognized, I should say, as an artist.
I don't know if I never take it for granted, but I don't ever feel like success. It's just, if you're hiking up the mountain, you've got, I have a friend or two that they want to get to the campsite. That's all they're thinking about. Whereas I'm more like looking in the plants and looking for animals and stuff. And so that's how I view it, because I dreamt about this since I was a little boy. So I've always started with the end. It's a vague thing. I gave it a vague feeling on purpose. there's a few artists. Steve Kestrel inspired me. My father.
Yeah.
Yeah, he passed away a couple years ago. So,
Sounds
but
like,
obviously he inspired me a great deal.
sounds like he was really quite an inspiration for not only you, but also
Yeah.
your family and all the people who would give him their works to create into big monuments.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's quite beautiful. My family has just an insane amount of artistic capabilities. Painters, jewelers, leather workers.
Wow.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Our family reunion, we usually do a white elephant gift exchange, and a lot of us will show up with custom one-of-a-kind things.
Aw.
I have a painting done by my sister Julie hanging on my wall of my dad.
Yeah. So what has been the most challenging thing that you've encountered? Or failures that you've had to rebound from?
Probably my own preconceptions, I would say. Assumptions, and also that early on I had a hunger to jump in, hunger to make headway, as opposed to just putting my head down and doing what I do, showing it to the world. And so that's what I'm doing now, is just doing what I do, acting upon what I can act upon, and then the rest is, just the dross, I guess.
Well, and I know you have a website with a lot of your work on it.
Uh-huh.
So tell us a little bit about the website, and what if somebody's interested in your work? How can they find out more about you?
I have email and phone number on there, and I have an architectural page. I don't do much of that. The artwork is on the main page. There's a blog page if you want to see my anatomical work. And the dream horse I did that was fun. I painted one of those horses.
Oh, sure.
For angel horses.
Yeah.
So that's under blog as well. Anyone can feel free to call, and
Okay.
if they're interested in a commission, I'm a little bit more choosy about that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's all on there.
Well, this has been wonderful to meet you today and get to hear about your work and look at one of your beautiful creations. We'll have a connection to the website and post some of those pieces just so people can get an idea at the end of this. And I really appreciate having you here today.
Likewise, thank you.
And folks, thank you again for joining us for All About Billings. I'm your host, Nancy Brooke with Billings Best Real Estate, and I hope to see you next time.